I'm still recovering from the Playmobil review. It's like such a chore. This movie's good. What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about the brand new Mark Ruffalo film, Dark Waters. I need you in the comments below. Are you going to see this movie this weekend? Just don't see the other one. Let's talk Dark Waters. So a corporate defense attorney takes on an environmental lawsuit against a chemical company that exposes a lengthy history of pollution. So this comes from director Todd Haynes, who directed I'm Not There, and Carol. Like I said, it stars Mark Ruffalo and Anne Hathaway. And it really is a story that harkens back a few years ago to a film like Spotlight. It even says it on the poster, from the studio that brought you Spotlight. I was surprised by how intrigued I was while watching this movie. A very interesting story. A story based on something true that is going to take a lot of people, catch them off guard with how intense it is. Not necessarily pacing-wise, but just the story in general. It is basically about this defense attorney who has always fought for one side, and then all of a sudden someone comes to him with a bit of information, and a bit of heartbreak in there as well, and decides that maybe it's time to stand up for those who are actually being affected by this company who basically runs everything. There is no fighting this company. There's no winning against this company unless we present the proper evidence and we be patient and we wait for things to develop. Now, I recently reviewed a film called The Report that came out on Amazon Prime. This movie reminds me very much of The Report, which reminds me very much of Spotlight. It is presenting this information in a way with a very good actor playing the lead character. We had Adam Driver in one, Mark Ruffalo in this film, someone who is sympathetic when he needs to be, but he allows you to come into his brain and understand where he's coming from and why he's making the decisions that he is making, and maybe even turning on those who have supported him in the past because of his work for the other side. But he sees, along with everyone else who is fighting with him, he sees the effects of what this large corporation in Dupont is doing to this small town in West Virginia, and he decides that he is going to fight for those no matter how long it takes. And it takes a long period of time, once again hearkening back to something like The Report that spans years and years. He decides to fight for this guy, and things begin taking way longer than he anticipated. But to contrast from the movies that I've been comparing it to, this does take a look into his personal life a bit more. His wife, played by Anne Hathaway, it shows their relationship and how it is staggered a bit because of his commitment to this entire operation, if you will. It also showcases the health effects that it's having on him because he's so stressed out by this entire situation. We also have Tim Robbins in here, who gives, I believe, one of the best monologues of the entire year. He's very good in this movie, but that scene in particular, my only issue with that scene is the majority of the monologue, he was delivering some fantastic dialogue, but the majority was an over-the-shoulder shot where we get a peek into other people's facial expressions as opposed to him. Now, we do cut back eventually, but it's a lot of other people soaking in that information, whereas I would have been okay with the camera just being on his face or just that wide shot that we get at the end. I really love the speech, but certain camera placement decisions, shot selection decisions, I think could have been a bit better. We also get Bill Pullman in here, who I just thought was really good. I mean, not a lot of screen time for really anyone except for Mark Ruffalo and kind of Anne Hathaway, but he was great. The supporting cast is fantastic. The acting is top-notch, and I thought the directing was really slick as well. This could have easily been a story that bored me to tears, that left me wanting to fall asleep. I felt the same way about Spotlight, too, man. Now, that movie was one of my absolute favorites of that particular year. Dark Waters doesn't quite get there. There are times where I wanted it to move a bit quicker, not necessarily pacing issues, but pacing that could have been picked up a tad bit more, and then maybe the movie spans a bit too much time, right? Maybe we could have focused in a bit more on the important storylines, and I do think this is a conventionally made movie, whereas Spotlight took a bit of a different approach. This film kind of plays it by the numbers. It is your typical, we're going to take down the evil corporation script, and they utilize that well, and I think the delivery from Ruffalo enhances it, as well as the slick and kind of beautiful, even though it is very dark and grim at times, it kind of goes with what the movie is all about, but the direction from Todd Haynes is is really good, and those are what enhances this movie to what I believe is something that is worth watching in the theaters. It is one that I would recommend. What I think your enjoyment of this movie comes down to is if you are on board with learning more about this true life story. See, I actually worked for the government for about a year and a half, so when it comes to, what's killing the cows, is it chemicals, what are these big corporations doing, I have a bit of insight into that world. Now, my job was more about chemical weapons as opposed to what's happening here, but it's still extremely interesting to me, so I gravitate to source material like this. Not everyone's going to. Before I get to my score, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you like this review, smash that thumbs up button. It helps out this channel immensely. And I'm going 76% for Dark Waters. I believe it's a movie worth watching, like I said, and I think you guys could get something out of it. No, it's not the fastest movie you're going to watch all year, but some fantastic performances and a really good story that I think everyone needs to know about if you don't know already. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I have a lot of reviews coming out over the next couple of days. Already talked about Waves in 1917 and Playmobil on this channel. If you guys want to check those out, you definitely can. And then this weekend, we're talking the top 10 comic book movies, or at least my top 10 of the decade. You guys are the best. I'll see you soon.